Hi there, Terry back again. Hope I find you well. And as you can see by the Superman t-shirt, we are back to Superman and Action Comics. And this is part 2 of 1962. If you'd like to like and subscribe, that'd be great. If you'd like to leave a comment, that would be even better. I like commenting on comics. We start with Superman 154. And that's July cover date. And it was done by Curt Swan. The cover story, slightly different to the cover title, is called The Underwater Pranks of Mr. Mxyzptlk. And it was written by Edmund Hamilton, art by Curt Swan and George Klein. And then there was another story called Krypton's First Superman. And the art again was by Curt Swan and George Klein. And this one was written by Jerry Siegel. Then we have Action Comics 290, July cover date, another nice cover by Curt Swan, and this was called Half a Superman, and the writer was unknown, but the art was by Curt Swan and George Klein. And the Supergirl story inside was called Supergirl's Super Boyfriends, and that was by Jerry Siegel and the art by Jim Mooney. Then we have Superman 155, August cover date, and this was cover was by Curt Swan, John Forte and Ira Schnapp. And there's a little bit of trivia with this story. It was called Superman Under the Green Sun, written by Bill Finger, and the art was by Wayne Boring and Stan Kay. Now, this planet in the story is blue, which Superman still has his powers under. But after all, our sun is really blue-green. That has to do with the Earth's atmosphere of what we actually see. But if you Google it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, the villain Dragon, or Drago I should say, in this issue, is able to turn it green, negating Superman's powers. Logically, that shouldn't happen, as what I've just said before. But it does make a change from being a red sun, I suppose. And the second story, which is the cover story, is Downfall of Superman. Written by Jerry Siegel, art Curt Swan and George Klein. And this was a guest appearance of a real life wrestler called Antonio Rocca, who was born in Italy in 1921, if everybody wants to know that. Then we have the August action, number 291, cover again by Curt Swan and George Klein, called The New Superman. The writer was Rob Bernstein, and the art here was by Al Plastino, and we have a letterer, Milt Snapin. The Supergirl story was the bride of Mr. Mxyzptlk. He does get around. The writer being Jerry Siegel, and the pencil and inks were by Jim Mooney, and again the letterer was Milt Snapin. Next we have a Superman Annual number 5, the cover by Curt Swan and George Klein. Not the greatest cover in the world, unfortunately, but the spine's well on. Feature stories written by Otto Binder, Bill Finger, Jerry Siegel and Edmund Hamilton, and featuring the art of Wayne Boring, Stan Kay, George Papp and Curt Swan, along with Kurt Schaffenberger and John Cicala. This is another one of those annuals where the stories are no older than 4 or 5 years. Some are only 2 years old. But you did get a bonus, you get a poster depicting the flag of Krypton. Saw the other side as well. Those were the stories in it, or some of the stories in it. Then we have, the paper would stop sticking together, Action 292, September cover date, another Curt Swan cover. Again, the writer was unknown, and it was called When Superman Defended His Arch Enemy, and the art was by Al Plastino. The Supergirl story was The Super Steed of Steel, and it was written by Leo Dorfman, art by Jim Mooney. And another little bit of trivia, although this is the first meeting of Comet, the Superhorse and Supergirl, it's not his first appearance. That happened in a Superboy story in Adventure Comics number 293 from February 1962. That issue was also the first Legion of Super Pets appearance, along with Krypto, Streaky, Comet and Beppo as a team. I should have started collecting Adventure Comics. There's so many first appearances in that. Then we have Superman 156, another one of those Death of Superman stories. Another lovely cover again by Curt Swan, and this was a 3-part story by Edmund Hamilton. The artist was Curt Swan and George Klein, and we had part 1, Superman's Death Sentence, part 2, The Super Comrades of All Time, and part 3, Superman's Last Day of Life. Another bit of trivia, this story is virtually a duplicate of a story written by William Woolfolk in Superman number 66, cover date September 1950. Of course, that story is classed as an Earth 2 story. And then we have Action Comics number 293, October cover date. Curt Swan and George Klein doing the cover. And the first story is Red Kryptonite splits our Man of Tomorrow into an arrogant Superman and a non-powered Clark Kent in the feud between Superman and Clark Kent. Written by Edmund Hamilton, artist is Al Plastino. And in the Supergirl's tale we learn the secret origin of Comet, the Superhorse. Written by Leo Dorfman and the art by Jim Mooney. See that one clearer. Next we have Superman 157, November cover date. Again, you've guessed it, Curt Swan and George Klein did the cover, and this is back to the 3 stories with this issue. The cover story was The Super Revenge of the Phantom Zone Prisoner by Edmund Hamilton, art by Curt Swan and George Klein. And this tale was the first recognised in canon appearance of Gold Kryptonite, even though its first appearance was in Avenger Comics 299, August 1962. And that was that. And then the second story was The Super Genie of Metropolis, written by Robert Bernstein, art by Al Plastino. And the third story was Superman's Day of Doom. Writer Jerry Siegel, and Curt Swan and George Klein did the art. Then we have Action Comics number 294, November, cover by Curt Swan. First story was written by Edmund Hamilton, The Kryptonite Killer, and this art by Al Plastino. And the Supergirl story was entitled The Mutiny of the Superhorse, and that was written by Leo Dorfman, and again the art by Jim Mooney. Then, we're nearly there. This is one of my favourite action covers from this era, number 295. Written again by somebody they don't know, and the art was by Curt Swan and George Klein. It was called Superman Goes Wild, as you can see by the cover. The movie Superman 3, so I reckon, has scenes very similar to this story, like the Tower of Pisa being destroyed and then repaired. Then Leo Dorfman writes the Supergirl tale, The Girl with the X-Ray Mind, Art as Usual by Jim Mooney. And then last but not least, we finish with the Superman annual number 6. I love it to say annual when they've got 2 come out in the same year. But there you go. This was December 62, January 63 cover date. And the banner says, the greatest superheroes of all time. The cover art, back and front, was by Curt Swan. And again, they don't go back that far with the stories, between 1957 and 1960. And that's the back cover. Probably one of the most famous Superman posters there are. And I've written down here, do you like these videos? Did you enjoy this one? And then let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe. As I said before, I do like answering the questions in the comments. Makes it a little bit more fun. That's the reason I do this. But as I said, let me know. Thank you very much. And we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.